Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Record-ology. If there was a delay, I apologize. My computer has just been something else lately. I can't even tell you. So, welcome in. If you're watching the replay and you're like, dang it, I wish I caught that live. I apologize if you're in the, European area, the UK, anywhere where the time zone didn't work out because it is 7:43 here in the Mile High City. And I realize that translates to about 3 a.m. where you're at, or 2 a.m. So I don't fault you whatsoever. I do try to do early morning ones from time to time just to enable folks that don't usually get a chance to join us. And, I like to do that. But unfortunately, after a day like today, you're saying Saturday, how bad could it be? Sometimes I'm lucky to even find 5 minutes to jump on. So welcome in, everybody. Jody, welcome in. Sebastian, welcome in. Robert is a new member to the nation, sporting his awesome 45 adapter badge. Welcome in. 7:44 in your area. 7:44 a.m., I'm guessing, because of the lack of PM. I'm guessing that's a 24-hour clock. Jody says it's 8:44 where I am in Missouri. We were just out in Missouri a couple of weeks ago. Larry, hello. Bradley, welcome in, another new member to the Vinyl Nation. We've got 3 Nation members in here. This is crazy. This is awesome. Listen, if you wouldn't mind sharing this out, letting people know you're on, that would be cool. If you're like me and have like 15 YouTube accounts, subscribe them all to Record-ology. That's cool. I just wanted to come on here. It's been too long since we've done a live. I don't have... Oh, Sebastian says it's PM. Okay, so you're in the Mountain Standard Time Zone, or something that translates into that as well. So anyhow, yeah, I just wanted to come on and hang out with you guys. Hopefully we can get some friends on here and as many as possible. And we can just hang out. We can shoot the breeze. We can ask questions. We can chit chat. We can just have fun for a while on Saturday night. And because it's a live on Saturday night, I couldn't resist Saturday Night Live. Probably not as good as another Saturday Night Live that I've heard goes around. My friend and I, we used to do spend the night on Saturday nights. And if it was a really good weekend, it was a double spend the night. So it'd be Friday night and Saturday night. And one of the things I remember doing is, ordering a pizza, getting some soda, and watching Saturday Night Live at his house. They had like a little guest room with a little TV, and we would just sit there on the floor and watch that. And so much fun. Poet's Dreams, hello from New Mexico. That's awesome. Welcome in. Lots of new names and faces. I'm thankful for each and every one of you for joining. Record-ology is an interesting channel. If you're new here, we do the tech reviews, we do the vinyl, but it sort of morphs and has a life of its own. And, it's just one of these things where I'm as surprised as you guys are probably half the time as what direction we go in, not just what we're talking about, we're covering in, but, themes and things that are coming along, things that come and go. It's just, it's an live evolving thing. And that makes it exciting. You know what I mean? Like some channels you tune into and, it's kind of like comfort food. You know what to expect. Whereas here it's kind of like a buffet. We keep going. Larry, member for 7 months, 6+ months as a member, years following. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you so very much, Larry. By the way, if you're wondering how these guys get these badges and, cool things, they are members of the Record-ology Vinyl Nation. It is a paid membership program. They get an extra show every week and other benefits as well. Once we get more members of the nation, we're going to have exclusive chat lives and things of that nature as well. And I just want to kind of build that up, before we flip the switch. Alfonso says, hello from Denver. All right. I would like to know if you have any of the old country western gospel or any Mexican music. Okay, country western. Yes, I've got. Oh, let's. You want to open that can of worms? All right. So within arm's reach. Where is? Yeah, I got Hank Williams right here. There's a classic MGM. Yep, we got Window Shopping on this side, and on this side we've got Jambalaya. this vendor that I get these from puts the price tag right on there. It's so annoying. So yeah, we got Hank. I got a lot of Patsy Cline. I've been making a concerted effort to stop talking about Patsy Cline so much. Besides annoying my wife, it's annoying other people on the channel because I have been obsessive as I am with everything that I get interested in. I can't stop. So that's why I have an entire crate of Glenn Miller back there. So, but yeah, I've got country western. I love a lot of country. I've got a lot of Chet Atkins, Jerry Reed. I've got Ernest Tubb, all that kind of stuff. Mexican music, I have a small amount, a couple of records, I believe. I'd like to find more. I think that would be really, really good. One of my favorite styles of Mexican music is actually Mexican opera, because that's another way. I listen to so many types of music, and there is somebody, if you know this, let me know down in the comments below. But there is it's not quite opera, but it's operatic, and it's a Mexican tradition. And Placido Domingo, one of my favorite opera singers, something Suela. I'm trying to think. It's on the tip of my tongue. And anyway, so yeah, there you go. I like that stuff. And what was the other? Gospel? Yeah, I got some gospel as well. Okay, Sebastian says, things are coming in fast. Jerry, thank you for the super chat, man. That is awesome. Super chats, never expected, always appreciated. That's amazing. And it goes directly into making Record-ology less boring. So thank you for that. I really, really appreciate that. Let's see here. Opinions on Super 8 film. I think it's cool. I'm kind of heartbroken because I have these little Super 8 little not Viewmaster, but little things you would put the cartridge of Super 8 film in. And I dropped them today when I was getting ready for the tomorrow's show that I filmed already. And I cracked the cartridge, and I'm hoping I can get that back together in one piece. I went to film school, and we didn't do any Super 8. Did we do any Super 8? No, we did do some mostly we did Super 16. Mostly Super 16, but I think it's cool. I think Super 8 has got a cool aesthetic, a cool graininess. We were out in Florida at the beginning of the year, and I shot a film effect, a Super 8 film effect on the back lot of Universal, which is really cool. Check that video out. But yeah, that's super fun. I love that stuff. Bradley joined yesterday. That is awesome. Welcome in. So yeah, as you progress, your badge will change colors and all cool stuff like that. So welcome in, Bradley. Poet's Dream says, I have old Hank Williams on 78. If I found Patsy Cline on 78, that would be really cool, because they only released a few of her records on that format. Most of everything was on 45. My latest Patsy Cline pickup is a black Decca label, Walking After Midnight, hanging on the wall. So I'm looking at, and I would love to find. I read today that her producer at 4 Star Records, actually, when he was trying to promote Walking After Midnight, had an issue, this is perhaps the most rare Patsy Cline record. He had he slowed it down from 45 RPM to 33, which obviously made her voice sound a lot lower than it was, which is already a low voice. And went around telling people that he had the first male recording of Walking After Midnight. And what he would do is halfway through, he'd switch it up. And when people could hear that it was really a female, then he would use that as a sales pitch to pitch the record, which is strange. But what I was going to say is, if I could find some Coral 45s, Coral was an imprint of Decca, and there was a few Coral releases, and that would be something. Poet Streams, love Patsy Cline, keep talking. Oh, don't tempt me. It's so much fun to talk about. I love the history of it. It's really interesting. Bradley says, do you have a favorite portable record player? Right now, it is this. I just happen to have it right here. It is the Victrola Revolution Go. Is that what it's called? Revolution? No, not Revolution. What is this thing called? The paper in here. What is this thing? The Revolution Go. I still think the way they did the manual to make it look like I thought they were giving me a free record at first. But no, it's a great little portable, battery-operated, rechargeable, lithium-ion battery, magnetic cartridge. And yeah, kind of weird. not very rugged. I mean, one drop in this thing would be in shattered pieces, but the sound is phenomenally good. Too bad that Victrola isn't talking to me right now. They're not so happy with the way their reviews went with their big flagship model that came out. But I do honest reviews regardless of source, like it says in my About tab. So I don't care, and they weren't appreciative of that, I think, because they've been ghosting me ever since this came out. That's okay. It's still, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. I don't care if they like me or not. So I'm terrible about keeping up on comments. So bear with me a little bit. I can't even handle 25 people in the comments. If I ever got up to like 150 live people, I don't know what I'd do with myself because I'm terrible at this. So bear with me. Bear with me. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Sebastian says, do you know the singer Bobby Caldwell? That name rings a bell, but I can't tell you anything about it. Larry says Patsy Cline surpassed country. Yep. Well, part of Owen Bradley's genius was crafting a sound that was really geared towards pop. So it's country pop and kind of went over in that genre. So yeah, when you see those artists that really did cross barriers like that, and then they end up being, categorized as a country artist or whatever, it's kind of unfortunate because a lot of people think they don't like country music, and maybe they're missing out on something they would like. That's why it's good every once in a while to just listen to the radio, to listen to some kind of playlist, because if you're like me, you'll pick up music that you didn't know you liked, and it's kind of fun. That's a fun thing. That's what it was like with Patsy Cline. I knew the name but didn't know anything about her, and liked the music, and I decided to look into it. And actually, that's the way Glenn Miller happened as well, and others that I've been interested in. Status Quo, I've been really enjoying learning them, and that's rock and roll. And if you've been around here for a while, Larry, you know that I'm not the biggest rock and roll guy ever. Bradley says, I have French and German music. I have some 78s in my 78 crate down here. There's some interesting releases from all over the world. There's one from Hong Kong you can't even read the label. It's amazing. A lot of them are gifts from you guys. You get a lot of things gifted to the show, which is an amazing blessing. Forgive me for not looking at you. I am, but I'm looking over here at the comments on the side of the screen. So. Alfonso says, do you have any New Mexico music or mariachi? I do not. I need to. I would love to pick some of that up. I think that's great stuff. Do you like Toby Keith, says Jerry? Yeah. I went through a modern country phase. Gosh, this would have been about 18 to 20 years ago. And Zarzuela. Thank you, Bob. Yeah, Zarzuela. That's the Mexican opera music. So Toby Keith was one of the ones I liked, and I was listening to Clint Black yesterday. Clint Black, Garth Brooks. I wish Garth Brooks would get in gear with streaming and just put his music up on Spotify and Apple Music, because I do enjoy streaming music. I mean, if I'm in the car, it's going to be streaming music. But yeah, Toby Keith is one that I like. My local thrift shop sells CDs, 3 for $1. Jerry says, "Holy cow, that's." Prices in our area here in Denver have gone up for vinyl. There's Goodwill's charging $3 a record for what used to be dollar vinyl. And they're like, you know what? CDs are, showing up more and more as well. And they're like, these must be having a resurgence as well. Guess what? They're $3 now too. Supply and demand, baby. Supply and demand. Larry says, I just got a 3-speed portable record player from Newmark, the PT01 USB. I want to review a Newmark. I haven't done that yet. They look cool. Larry also says Buddy Holly was on Coral. Yeah, he actually... Okay, you want to hear something weird? You can find it online. I think if you YouTube search Buddy Holly before the Crickets with Owen Bradley in his famous Quonset hut studio in Nashville, which many artists recorded in, literally bought an old mansion, took out the first floor. This is fascinating stuff. Took out the first floor of this like Victorian mansion, made stairs down to the basement, so that the basement now is a 2-story thing, and that was the studio. And they were doing television stuff, a lot of YouTube clips, early YouTube clips of country western stuff was filmed in the Bradley studio down there. But he also had a barn studio as well. afterwards. I think it was after his Quonset hut. But anyway, it outgrew the basement, and then they bought a surplus army Quonset hut from World War II, or maybe the Korean War, and slapped it on the back of that thing. And imagine the acoustics of a Quonset hut, right? Metal, rounded roof with like corrugated metal, and converted that into another television and audio studio and recorded so many famous artists in that studio. It still stands to this day. It's a music. It was I think it was CBS Records. He sold to CBS, I think, and then or Columbia. Was it? I think he sold to Columbia, and then eventually became a music studio. But it still stands to this day. It's been office space, but the Quonset hut has been kind of built on. The mansion part is gone. They tore that down, but the Quonset hut, you can see it from a certain angle, a little bit of the rounded side of that. Anyway, where I was going with that is Buddy Holly, before the Crickets, recorded there, and there's audio of that. And so Owen Bradley, man, he was a master. And that's why I want to go back to the original Owen Bradley master. Somebody was chatting with me, I don't know if they're in the chat now, recently, about Patsy Cline music and talking about overdubbing and stuff that came later on when people trying to fix and modernize. But for me, give me the original half-inch tape, 3-track tapes, you know what I mean? 2 stereo tracks of background music and a center channel, down mix that to a 1/4-inch stereo, and you've got, a splendid sound. So, but yeah, Buddy Holly before the Crickets, and doing some of his future famous songs right there in that same studio. Sorry, I'm just getting caught up on comments. John Schneider released a new album. First track is Working on a Building. That's cool. Sebastian says, what is your first turntable? It's buried down there, but it's a 1979 or 78 Fisher-Price record player with an idler drive. There was 2 versions. There's a white and blue version, and it's white and orange, and that's the one I had. So my mom had bought it at a garage sale and gave it to me. And my dad was a DJ, and he had a stack of 45s, and they're just like, play with this. And maybe that's part of why I learned to love music early on, long before I would consider myself a record person or cared about formats. But I would just sit there and listen to records, and I came upon one. I still have some of that original. The stack used to be about, I don't know, 2 feet high. Now it's kind of dwindled down to this. No sleeves, just totally like scratched up on each other. But I came across Elvira by the Oak Ridge Boys, and that was my first favorite song. I still have that exact record. One of these days I need to do a show about that. And when they would come out, papa, mow, mow. Love that stuff. That was so much fun. And my parents took me to see that concert. And this was like, I must have been 4 or 5 years old. I mean, I'm not 4. I must have been young, maybe 5 or 6. I don't know. I was young. And apparently I slept through the entire concert until Elvira came on. So yeah, there you go. But yeah, those record players now, those Fisher-Price, you can pick them up for about $30, $35 used. And I snagged one about a year ago. I've done some videos on it. I love it. It's very nostalgic for me. Bradley says Loretta Lynn released an album. I remember. Yeah, she was one of her friends. And got a bunch of her clothes too. 60s French pop. Okay, now you're getting real specific, Nick. Sure. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to listen to more. Do I have Patsy Cline's first? Okay, Brian, I just so happen to have that. Now, let's see here. This is it. This is an amazing condition. So this is the 1957 Decca. I thought I would never find this thing. Let me rephrase that. I thought I would never be able to afford this record because it goes for like $150. This is not the very first variant. So this is our first album, but this is actually a later variant. This is like a 1960 reprint. You can tell because it says includes. Anytime you see a record that has includes and then the famous song from there, it's not the original version. Because if you think about it, how would they know what the famous song from that album would be before it's released, right? So anytime you see includes the famous song, blah, 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 then you know. But this is it, 1957. It's in mono. There was only a mono version. And this cover is in pristine condition. If you're patient and you keep your eyes out, you can pick this up for $40-ish. I got this one for $37, I think. But I have another copy of it. I have all of her albums. And luckily for my budget, she only recorded 104 studio tracks. So I was able to collect it. Because if I were to start off and collect somebody like another female vocalist I like to listen to sometimes, Peggy Lee, is like 40 albums. Here's an earlier variant that does not have that, featuring thing on there, but it's not quite as good of condition. Now, both of these are have the Decca Rainbow label, which isn't the oldest version. The oldest version is the black Decca with the gray lettering, the silver lettering. That would be the original OG, and I do not have that. It's hard to find anything that isn't the rainbow label. I do have on my copy of Sentimentally Yours a radio exclusive. Anytime you see the pink, it's a radio exclusive, but it's got the original Decca label on there, and that's from this album. This was this is her third album, the last one to be released while she was still alive. So, okay. All right. Non-Patsy Cline themed stuff. Let's talk about something else. I noticed that in a photo of Walmart, you took a replacement stylus. There was an LP Go. It looked like the LP 60. I've heard about this LP Go. I've heard about that. Now, Audio-Technica has got a massive backlog issue right now. That's why Crosley came out with their new cartridge, because they can source it directly without having to go through Audio-Technica's. Here's the thing, because it's like this delayed action. You've heard of like the appliance shortage and, this issue that people are having with logistics, things coming over from China, especially the chip shortage and automotive, world that is making the buying market for cars crazy, and things are overpriced in that regard. It's impacting anything that comes over in a shipping container. So container logistics movers are charging more for containers. They're just costing more. They're costing more. So they're looking for every opportunity to optimize. All that to say this, supply is really hard to get a hold of right now, and it's driving up prices. That's why an LP 60X, which used to be like $89, $99, was a fantastic deal, is now like $130 on Amazon, purely because the higher costs are being passed on to us. Big surprise, right? So, but yeah, so I haven't been able to review anything from Audio-Technica lately. If we find something to invest in, that's where subscription fees and super chats go to. So, and advertising revenues and things like that. So very appreciative. Thank you for watching the ads. It really does help. So yeah, we might invest in that. I want to find things that are the most interesting to people. So I'll keep my eyes peeled on that as well. Do I have any Cumbia on vinyl? I am not sure. Elaborate, please. Apparently not if I don't recognize that. Old Radio says, I got my Sony L cassette. Sounds pretty good. L cassette's the thing I haven't even got into. I'm aware of it. I've seen the Tecmone videos. It's cool. But yeah, that's cool. You have to let me know what you think about that. That's really neat. I remember reading, you said somewhere that you got that. So I'll be curious how that turns out. Sackboy, Jonathan, do you like Merle Haggard? Merle Haggard is got some talent. Absolutely. I was watching some Merle Haggard videos a couple months ago. Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of like, he's one of those artists where I'm probably like a greatest hits kind of fan at most. You know what I mean? But yeah, absolutely. Old Radio is making my own 16 millimeter film with my Bolex. Wow, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. Expensive to do that stuff now. But yeah, I remember in film school when we were shooting Super 16, it was like, we didn't have the daylight safe film. They didn't tell us that existed. So we were like, safety film, I guess is what you call it. So we were loading, magazines with the dark bags of sleeves, and they teach you how to memorize it. That was actually the final for one of the classes was, threading a 16 millimeter camera, blindfolded essentially because you're in the bag. So that's really cool. Jerry says, speaking of Garth Brooks, there was a 5-album box set at my local Dollar General. Yeah, and that's why he releases a lot of his music is through, especially Walmart. He's got an exclusive deal with Walmart, and he'll do these box sets. But Garth Brooks is all about physical media. He is not about streaming whatsoever. And I understand that the royalties on streaming initially weren't as lucrative for artists, but I think it's getting to the point now where I think he's losing revenue because not many people are going to go buy physical media to discover an artist. If you're like me, unless you just have money, just to blow, you wouldn't unless it's cheap. You're not going to go you know what? I'm going to just buy this random CD of this person and see if it's any good. Whereas streaming, you can really use it as a discovery process. And then if you like it, if you're like me and you're like, wow, I really like this music, then I want to invest in the physical media because a new record, or even a used record sometimes can be a serious investment. So that's cool. That's really neat. I see Pizza Boy says, do you prefer automatic or manual turntables? And also direct or belt drive? I definitely prefer automatic. I love an automatic turntable. I had been running the RT85 with the acrylic platter and all the fancy stuff. I took the Nagoda cart off pretty quick because I'm actually unimpressed with this cartridge. This is the Nagoda cart off that they are putting on the RT85 now. It's not that bad. By the way, it runs really low. If once that cantilever goes down, you're worried that it's going to scratch because it is riding really, really low. This is in the Fluence head shell, by the way. It's a great turntable, but every time I got a manual in there, even if, I'm enjoying one of the features of a manual, I ultimately especially when I'm working, I just want to throw a record on, push a button. I love automatic turntables. I love it. So guess what? LP3 went back into the number one spot this week. And I love it. Right now, I think I showed a picture earlier this week. I'm running the Grado Gold 2 on there right now. It sounds fantastic. I was initially afraid that it was going to be too tall of a cart. But as you can see in the short that I did earlier this week, it's really not. This guy has a spacer. See that spacer on top? So let me get a Grado. So the Grado is tall, but it's just lacking. Oh, my fingers are disgusting. It's just lacking the spacer. So once you account for the spacer, it's actually the same VTA. So I was thankful for that. But yeah, just the LP3. Belt drive or direct drive, I don't really have a preference. I've never been like, dang, this thing isn't spinning up fast enough. I wish it was, I wish it would spin up, a half a revolution full speed versus, 1.5 revolutions. So that doesn't, and I don't know if I even buy the fact people will say, well, the belt will stretch and the sound will change. You get wow and flutter. Never experienced it. And the LP3, and I feel dumb a lot of times, but specifically because this has a DC motor, as most turntables do, and it has trim pots where you can adjust the speed. And I went in there and I was being way OCD about checking the speed. So I took my, it's amazing how many things I have within arm's reach, isn't it? I took my stroboscopic disc and use your imagination. Why is that? What does this room really look like? This is a staged shot. Let's just say that. I also work here all day long, which I did today. And that's what I was going to say earlier. I've been working all day. I had an escalation at work. I've been working all day. It's been work. This is finally fun. Thing is, it has a servo-controlled motor. So it's sensing its speed and correcting itself. So you don't even need to make those adjustments. Okay, I'm way behind on comments. So belt drive is fine by me. Jaden says, I just ordered the Paw Patrol vinyl 7-inch from Enjoy the Tunes Records. That's awesome. With express priority shipping. That's awesome, Jaden. That's really cool. That's really, really neat. My grandson, that's right, grandson, would love that. And you know what? So would Grandpa. That would be me. That's cool. Jerry says, Garth Brooks box set was vinyl. Oh, really? Well, that's a really good deal. JD says, my first spinner was a Ragonda Party Time. It went very loud. I've never heard of those. Bradley says Owen Bradley produced all of Loretta Lynn from 63 to 82. Yeah, he was prolific. He was active until he passed away. Yeah, I thought I could. I went so from Patsy Cline. I went to Loretta Lynn. And I'm just like, I just don't like the sound. And Kitty Wells, I like the sound even less. So I'm just not a huge fan. But I know that they were friends. I think that's cool. Bradley also says French singers I have are Celine Dion and Laura Fabian. I've heard of Laura Fabian. I'm very familiar with Celine Dion. Absolutely. Old Radio says I got an original 1957 Chirping Crickets. That's cool. Paid $1 to church sale. Wow, that is cool. How much do you think it's worth? That's really cool. On the Brunswick label. That's really cool. You want to get rare, find some Glenn Miller on Brunswick from his first band before he signed with Victor. Chirping Crickets LP is only one release when Buddy Holly was alive. Interesting. Bradley says I upgraded my stylus for Audio Technica LP 120, which is a brown one made in Japan. That's awesome. Beatles held back from CDs and held back. I remember that. It was a while before they were on that, and from streaming, exactly. Eventually, they got into CDs and then streaming. Speaking of the Beatles, there is something going on right now that not many people know about. I've been involved in some talk and planning about a Beatles project that's coming. It's a 3-way licensing deal, part of which ties into the Disney Plus series. And I'm really excited to talk more about that. But it's interesting. That's from when you talk about IP, intellectual property, that is a hot commodity, and it is very controlled, very, very controlled. But you're right. I remember there was a delay for CDs, and there was others that were like really not okay. Like Meatloaf, rest in peace, was another one. I think that he was hesitant. I think he had a quote that I'm not going to quote correctly, that I'm going to paraphrase. That was something to the effect of, I want people to be able to listen to my music, not a sample of my music. He didn't understand, I think, really how that worked, but I understand where he's coming from. Okay. John, welcome in, John. Good evening. Again, sorry I'm delayed here. I'm just, I'm so thankful. We got 33 people in here. This is crazy. We're up to 36 a minute ago. By the way, 34 now. Awesome. Welcome into everybody that's coming in. Give me a thumbs up if you can, please. It doesn't cost anything, and I would greatly appreciate it. Let YouTube know that we're doing something here. Let's see. Captain Spaulding, Records Revisited. That's a cool name. I use the same cartridge, the Nagoda 110. What do you think about it? I was so excited, and I was like, all right, let's do this, Nagoda. And I was like, yeah, sounds okay. It's got kind of a warm sound to it. Best Buy. Yeah, it's a budget cartridge, but it's got a lot of heritage. You know what's weird too? I think the Nagoda 110 is a single magnet. I don't think it's a dual magnet. Not that me showing you is going to be able to do anything to confirm or deny that, but when I was researching it, I remember seeing that it was a moving magnet, but not a dual magnet. Belts eventually dry up and stretch out. Yeah, that's what I understand, but you got to keep in mind, and I don't know if I should say this. Okay, I'm going to say it. If you're in here tonight, you're in the inner circle, okay? If you want to be in the complete inner circle, join the Vinyl Nation. But before 2016, the only record player I had ever had was my Fisher-Price 1979 Kids record player. Everything that I have learned, everything that I know now, which isn't a whole heck of a lot. I've never said I'm an expert. Can't even think of the word. I am merely an enthusiast, and that is absolutely true because I've learned everything since 2016. And so I jumped on and did this channel right from the beginning. Pretty much, it was like 1 year delay from when I started to now, and. Not 1 year from when I got the first turntable in 2016 to when I started the channel in 2017. It's been 5 years since then. But that whole time I've been learning. So from day one to, now, we've been learning together. It's never been I am the authoritarian. I know everything about vinyl and I shall impart it to you kind of a channel. This is just us learning together, show and tell. And, I've learned way much more from you than you've learned from me. I guarantee it. Recently got a Sony CDP 291. Love it so far. That's great. I bit the big one on a couple Sony CDPs, CD players recently, and neither one worked out for me. So you found one that's in good shape. That's awesome. Captain Spaulding Records Revisit says, yeah, those Garth Brooks box sets were on Amazon Day for $27 for the 3. Wow. Larry says the last Everly died last August. Yeah, I did hear that actually. Okay. Greg, welcome in. Tim Allen's in the house. French pop. Check out France France Gall, Francois Hardy, Sylvie Vartan, and of course, Sergei Gainsbourg. Yeah, those are all new names to me. I'll have to check it out. Paulina, the Angel of Music, says, well, the Beatles CDs, it wasn't being held back for having their music on CD, what should be released and what mixes should be released. In the end, the first 4 chosen to be released in mono. I had, I think I had Let It Be, and I had, again, for Beatles, I'm kind of a greatest hits kind of a fan. I do love the music, but I'm not like a mega fan. I'm like a super fan, not a super fan. Not that I don't like it. I just like it, as much as I like it. Sometimes I'll go a few days, listen nonstop, and then I'll take a couple months off and then come back to it. But anyway, my first, I had one of the anthologies, like one volume of it. I hate that Disney is involved with the Beatles, says Larry. Disney tends to destroy what others have created. Larry, my friend. Larry. No comment. Greg says, hey, everyone. Welcome in, Greg. Old radios. I also got my DCC and DAT machines. They sound amazing. I think DAT is the best sounding physical format. 48 kilohertz. For DAT, that was sort of like when I was in film school, when things were moving off the Nagra reel-to-reels onto DAT for capturing audio. Pair the 110 with a shit mini preamp and sound difference, or that makes a lot of difference. That's cool. I've heard of the Shits Mini preamp. I need to check it out. Captain Spaulding says to complement each other. That's cool. No, I need to check that out. Old radio says still can't rewind and fast forward on my L cassette due to the drive wheel. Oh, interesting. Dried grease. Yeah, that's a common enemy of older equipment. What was the era of L cassette? Was that like an 80s thing? I happen to have an Ion turntable and happen to own a set of unopened something Maiden Senjutsu records. That's cool. What to use for metal? I am not a metalhead, and I am not able to say I would say something that tracks well because there's going to be a lot of modulation. Old radio says, I joined when the Victrola guy made that cylinder. I'm one of your very first subscribers. Oh, thank you for being there. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Victrola guy is one of the reasons why I got into this. Have you ever used a cell phone to check speed? I have. But the problem with that, here's what my problem is about that. When you are checking with the stroboscopic disc, I'm not going to pull it out again, but when you're using a stroboscopic disc to check speed, even it is not completely accurate because when the needle drops down, because obviously you're not going to put the needle down when you're testing with a strobe disc or even a paper, that would actually probably be better. Well, let me think about that. No, because that wouldn't be accurate either. What I was going to say is when you put the needle down, that's going to create drag, right? So that's how sensitive that's going to be in a lot of cases. So when you're setting to a stroboscopic disc, you actually want it to be a hair fast so you can account for the slowdown that's going to happen when that needle hits. And my thought is with a cell phone on a platter, while cool, is going to have an issue of weight. The phone's weight is going to, not accurately represent what the stress that motor is going to be under. But it is cool technology. Bradley says, I enjoy your channel thoroughly. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm really thankful. Got Anthology 2 on cassette. Those were cool package. I like how they were packaged so they looked like a canvas, and on the back was like the back of the canvas. Larry says, remember back in the 60s, mono mixes were done by the most experienced pros. Stereo was still new. Yeah, we did a show about that. And when I was hunting the Patsy Cline's collection down, it was finding those mono mixes was fun because you're right. Early days, stereo was relegated to the second tier engineers. And the primary engineers, the best engineers, were mixing those mono mixes for radio because that's what was selling records. Stereo was sort of like 3D television. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we'll do that for the people that are into that. But it didn't for the early 60s, it was still kind of new. Then George Martin and Jeff Emmerich remixed both Help and Rubber Soul. Now it's been decided to do stereo. Yeah, they keep doing all these different mixes and things. It's really interesting. Larry says DAT tapes were used for computer data backups. Is that the same format? Larry, I used to work, I've been in IT for a long time. And one of the companies I worked at, we were doing, this was as recently as 2000 and when would that have been? Like 2015. We were still outsourcing our backups to tape. I didn't know they were the same as DAT, though. That's interesting. Greg says, hi, Record-ology. I live in Franklin, Wisconsin. Welcome in, Greg. That's awesome. Still new to vinyl records, and I thought of using the sound bar of mine. It's a great starting point. There's no reason not to. It's a great starting point. I think it's a great idea. I'm assuming you saw the show we did the other day. Daniel Lopez, do most new portable CD players have decent audio? Not quite an audiophile, but I want good quality. See, my thing about CD is this. This is one reason why I love it so much. Is I feel like the cheapest CD player to the most expensive CD player, the difference in quality is like this. Whereas the cheapest record player to the most expensive record player, the difference in sound quality is much greater. So if you buy a cheap CD player, it's not going to sound bad. If you really start getting into it and you're like, yeah, I can hear, differences, because the biggest thing is the DAC, right? How is that digital audio being converted into analog? So if it's got a good DAC, which would be, on higher end CD players will have better ones, then yeah, you can get really good sound. But even on cheap ones, it's just not that bad. It sounds phenomenal. Cheap CD players even sound like a Walmart. I've got one up there. Can't quite reach it from here, but I got one. It's a cheapo $10 CD player. It sounds great. If I put it next to my Sony, it's actually got less background noise. I think I've got old caps on the Sony. It's like a 1994 D131. But yeah, you can, I would say, jump in and then you can increase from there. The early CD players were doing 16-bit DACs, which were interesting. They were basically, inline relays, resistors. And they had a problem where they weren't timing out 100% right. And so you would get little anomalies in sound. So the early DACs don't sound as good. But if you get anything that's like, I would say 94, 93, 94, maybe 92 and newer, they're all going to probably have a 1-bit DAC, and which uses noise shaping. It's a slightly different technology. Then you're pretty much on an even playing field. And now 1-bit is it's like stereo. People don't even mention it anymore because it's just assumed. Like in the 90s, I'll see like 1-bit DAC. You know what I mean? It was like a feature. It was part of the marketing lingo. And nowadays, every CD player off the shelf, the cheapest is going to have that, but it's not sold as a feature. The differences between the cheap and the good stuff is very small in my experience. 1976 to 1980 was Alcassette. Okay, it's earlier than I thought. Interesting. Inspecting Gadgets, that's a cool name too. Got the Jensen JTA 245. That's awesome. Glad you like it. And the comments are separated. Thanks to the phone. Yeah, no worries. Sometimes it dices it up a bit. Larry says a strobe disc is my go-to. Bradley says, you mentioned that the first vinyl LP you got was Janet Jackson's Control. I have the Japanese first pressing, which was a bonus track. You must be talking to somebody besides me because I don't have that record, which is good. I'm glad you guys talk to each other in the chat. That's awesome. Greg says, hi, Record-ology. I live in Franklin, Wisconsin. I feel like I read that already. So I apologize if I'm reading it again. I'm trying to find where my portable CD player is at. I know they have a tendency to get lost. And Jerry, welcome. They had a Magnavox 1 from 97 that grew legs and walked away. They do that. It's weird. Larry says, CD players must have a good DAC. Digital analog converter, absolutely. Cape Cod Ken, that's a cool name too. I found a working Sony PSFL 711 front-loading P-mount turntable. Those are cool, and those go for a good price. So that was a good find, assuming you got a good price on it. So yeah, those were DAT tapes for the server backups. That's crazy. Think videotapes will make a comeback? Well, if people are anything like my friend Fardamark, fellow YouTuber, and he just invested in a Betamax, a BMC 110. He was hoping to get the first the first camcorder with camera and recorder all in one. Before that, you had like the shoulder strap deck and then the separate camera. But he was one generation older or beyond that. The BMC 100 was the first. He has a BMC 110. It's so early. It's like 82, 83. It doesn't even play tapes. It just records. So he's been having fun with that. I don't know. I really don't know. A videotape. I am not sure. 5 years ago, you couldn't give them away. Goodwill wouldn't take them. And now, like the Disney ones are commanding a pretty fair price, or a pretty hefty price, I should say. Also, you came to my feed thanks to me looking for a turntable or suitcase player. Only get hooked on your content. Keep up the good work, and hopefully I'll see a good turntable. My current one is Ion Pure LP. That's awesome. Well, first of all, welcome and thank you. It's a blessing to have you here. People, come to us in all different ways. I did a survey recently about how people were discovering the channel. I thought we were converting more TikTok people than we were in Instagram people. There's almost none. Almost none. It was like 50-50 split between I searched for something on YouTube and found you, or YouTube's, mysterious algorithm said, you know what? Check out this guy, Record-ology. But thank you. We've got, almost 1,000 videos now. So I've tried to categorize things into playlists. So go check out those. All of the record player reviews are in a playlist. And that's an ongoing project to try and manage that. Film has a better image quality than videotape. Yeah, and don't even get me started on that, because we can go yeah, absolutely, and that's a different. Yeah, I could go on that will keep me talking for hours. So I better not go down that rabbit hole. Larry says videotapes were used to back up data from computers too. They were, even cassette tapes were. Old radios have the 1984 Marantz. It sounds fine. We reviewed a Marantz. I love when people are like, you always review cheap Chinese junk. You never touch anything that's good. And meanwhile, we reviewed Marantz, dual turntables, linear tracking turntables. Film is best, even better than 4K. When I was at CES, my wife and I went out to CES. By the way, she's the producer of this. So anything good that happens on this channel or makes sense is because of her. But we went out to CES a couple of years ago, and it's the 2020 CES. So you can imagine why that was the last CES I went to. They were demonstrating 8K displays, and I was unimpressed. I was like, it looks like 4K. I can't tell the difference between 8K. There at some point, your eyes can only discern a certain pitch, and then it's just like too much at that point. So an 8K display, 4K display, Now from a filmmaking perspective, we are at the point now where 4K shooting is a minimum. But really, it's like mastering audio. You do it because of the generational loss you get through the editing process, the mastering process, the duplication process, the streaming, which introduces compression process, more so than you do because that's what people are necessarily going to watch on. Greg says, Franklin, Wisconsin, a record store needs to have a record player with a tape player and a CD player. That's cool, Greg. Sounds like you got quite a setup. That is awesome. And it's funny, isn't it, how one leads to another. Bradley says, a German singer I like to listen to is Nina. Never heard of her. Old radios. I'm trying to collect those all those time life and TV music for you CD compilations I saw on TV's Kid. That's awesome. Oh man, we went to a record store here in Denver a few months ago, and they had, if you like the Reader's Digest sets, I have way too many of them myself. They just pile up. I love them. The sound quality is amazing. But they had probably 150 or more lined up. Maybe every one ever made. Somewhere I've got the catalog. I've got the catalog of the Reader's Digest sets. The Reader's Digest sets were made by RCA, Custom RCA, and the Time Life were made by Columbia. Both of them were great. I got a Sanyo version of that camcorder. I saw a camcorder recently. I don't know what brand it was. It was a beta, and I was thinking about picking it up. I was across town and saw that. Bradley says I have a Laserdisc player. Now, that's another thing by the way, don't you hate it when you come across Laserdiscs in the vinyl section? Unless you're looking for Laserdiscs, and you're like, they're $1, yes. Yeah, I like that Laserdisc. I think it's what brand is it? I want to say Toshiba. I don't know if it's Toshiba. I don't know. But it's got a Laserdisc player and a CD player all in one. No, it does. Yeah, it does. And then there's one that does vinyl as a record player with CD player, like a carousel CD player too. It's cool stuff. Yeah, the early ones only recorded, no playback. That's crazy. My hobby is painting pictures and listening to shortwave. I live in France. That's awesome. That's really cool. Isn't it fun to listen to music and paint and do activities like that? That's really cool. Jeremy Hobbs, welcome in, man. I see Pizza Boy sleep. Are you going to try sleeping? If you need to, do it. Or if you want something droning sound to fall asleep by, you found that. Old radios. This isn't my oldest working radio, or this is my oldest working video camera. My oldest is Magnavox from 81. Both have Vidicom tube image sensors. I've heard a lot about these lately. Bradley says, what I love about Laserdiscs is none have copy protection. I burn them to shh. You don't either. What are you talking about? What I think is amazing about Laserdisc is the video is analog. It's analog, even though it's an optical disc picked up by laser. But then you've got like the CVD and CAD formats. There's some crazy formats out there, like record players that pick up the audio with lasers and stuff, which flopped because the record has any dust. It sounds terrible. It's crazy. Greg says, Record-ology, I like music. That's what it comes down to, Greg, right? I use an Ion turntable TT USB 10. Damn, that model number sounds familiar. Very impressed how great it sounds and performs. That's great. Jody says, if hit clips would have stayed being massive success and wouldn't have died out, would they have changed the way we listen to music? I would say so. For me, it was pocket rockers. Man, those things go for like $50 a piece as players. I remember as a kid wanting one. It was like one of those toys that was way out of, my family's price range. I would love to come. I did. There is or was an 80s store south of here, South Denver. And it was like a totally 80s store. And they had toys and, everything 80s. It was incredible. It was, from people in my generation, a child of the 80s, it was like Mecca. It was like, ah. And they had pocket rockers. I'm like $60 a piece for the machines and like 20 for the tapes. Too rich for my blood. But yeah, hit clips was like the next gen. 8K is only useful for giant displays. Well, yeah, even Steve Jobs, when they were coming out with a Retina display, said that's it for resolution at the time. He said that because he's like, that's all the human eye can perceive in terms of sharpness. If you get crazy refresh rates and crazy resolutions, you can give people migraines. You know what I mean? Like there has to be a point where you say, okay, enough's enough. But yeah, 8K is like workflow stuff only, as far as I can tell. K-Tel Records, Larry, what about it? Everybody loves some K-Tel Records. Tongue in cheek there. Jerry, you can connect turntables with line out to some televisions. Yeah, I guess you could. Never thought about doing that. Huh. I don't have a Laserdisc player too. Do or don't? Pioneer was the door. Oh, yeah, Pioneer is probably what I was thinking of. Teskin Shortwave is the best. I've heard of that brand. I loved Shortwave. I had, in the 97, 98 years, right around there, I really got into shortwave. I had a Radio Shack. This thing had like, it was a lot of it was, design. It was amped up. Okay. It had like a direction finder, a rotating direction finder on top, had like metal rack handles on the front. And it was like a 8-band radio, shortwave, television, UHF, VHF, and AM, obviously AM, FM, medium wave. You could pick up airplane audio. And back then there was all kinds of stuff in the air. I've been reviewing these Reticus shortwave radios that have come out recently, and there's nothing out there. There's nothing that I can pick up. And I've even tried like the clip antenna extender and like drape it across the room to the window. I've listened at night, obviously, when things are better for radio. I can pick up hardly anything. And I think obviously a lot of that has to do with the fact that people have moved online. I know there is stuff out there, and I know that people can still pick up stuff. But for me, not so much. Right now, it's really exciting me in that regard in terms of, traveling the world in audio, as it were, is internet radio. I absolutely love, love, love internet radio. And I know that you can get the TuneIn app on your phone for free, although there's a lot of ads, and you can get a lot of that content as well. But again, like I said recently, decoupling, experiences from the smartphone. We've been focused in the last 10 years of doing everything in an app, everything on your phone. So for me, the idea of saying, you know what, let's see what we can separate from the phone, what we can separate from an app has been fun. Knowing you're never going to get a notification like I did this morning that's like, guess what, Record-ology? You're not having a Saturday. You're running an outage, and you're going to run it for 5 hours. So, you know what I mean? That's never going to happen with a radio or a CD player or tape player that's not connected. I shouldn't say that because internet radio is connected to the internet. You know what I mean? You're not going to get a notification. Let a phone be a phone. I'm kind of at that point where I don't want to oversimplify my life. Okay, enough of my stepping down off of the soapbox. Okay. If I miss any comments, I'm sorry. Put them again. I'll try to get them. Music is cool. You're right. Jeremy says Techmoan has everything. I know, right? He does. That channel generates a lot of revenue. That's all I'm going to say about that. He has built up a very successful brand. He can do a show about mini disc shells, and people watch. A lot of people watch, including myself. It was a good show, actually. I always tease my friend via Westlife because he did a show about something. Well, he did a show about keyboards recently. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, if I were to do a show about keyboards, I get like 5 views. Show about keyboards, thousands watch. You know what I mean? He does a great job. It's so simple too. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't you hardly ever see him. He doesn't do like an intro and outro. He just like flips on the camera. All right, we're jumping right into it. And that's what people want. They want the content. They don't want to know how your day went. They want to see the toys. And he's really good about focusing. I blab so much, which is why these shows go on for a long time, 58 minutes so far. We need to wrap it up, by the way. That it's hard. I have to make a concerted effort of shortening the show because I just blab. But he does a great job. Laserdisc audio is digital. Yeah, it was. And the audio was digital. Was it originally analog? I didn't know that. I thought the audio for Laserdisc was always digital, but I knew the video was analog. That's weird. Also, is it possible to improve the needle of those suitcase players? It's a lost cause. Yeah, and I know a lot of them have that. It's a lost cause because here's the deal with the ceramic. A ceramic cartridge is no matter what you do, you don't want to lighten the tracking force. Some people are like, well, if it's bad that they track at 5 or 6 grams, I'll just lower the tracking force. But they're designed to track at 5 or 6 grams. But a ceramic cartridge is a different technology, you guys, and it's always going to have that harsh sound. And usually the issue with turntables that have these isn't even the cartridge itself. These can actually have decent full sound, even though it's harsher than a moving magnet with bass and everything. It's usually the fact that they're impedance mismatched. So the impedance value of the cartridge isn't calibrated correctly throughout the entire system. They're getting a lot better at that now. I feel like a lot of, well, obviously, Crosley's got a lot of negative association with the brand because for a long time, perhaps they weren't, doing those things, like making sure things were impedance matched. So now they put out a third and fourth gen Crosley Cruiser, which is impedance matched and sounds pretty dang good. But you already burned up people on the fact that, it wasn't done right at first, in my opinion. All this is in my opinion. But yeah, when it comes to the ceramics, it's tough. You kind of have to get into the moving magnet category of turntables to get that high fidelity sound. And it's frustrating. I don't like it when a turntable will be made to look high end or higher end and then like conceal the fact that it's really a ceramic. It's not the end of the world. You can still have, hi-fi sound. You can still have, full stereo sound. You can still do no harm to your records, but it's a certain category of audio, and it is frustrating. I agree with you. Television speakers are worse. Ham radio is active. That's cool. There's an app. Here I go. After all that, there's an app. But there is an app. I forget what it's called, but it's where you can listen to a bunch of radio traffic, like police and fire and all over the world. You can listen to just public safety communications. I think you can listen to ham radio operators as well. My birthday is next week, the 19th. I hope to get something cool. That's awesome. Happy birthday early. Jerry says, I remember a label called KTEL. Yeah, absolutely. Kind of a budget label. Jeremy says, Via Westlife is great. Yeah, he's awesome. He really is. Record-ology brings the human element. Thanks, Larry. It's interesting. Everybody else talk amongst yourself. Larry, come here a minute. People don't resonate. They don't, when I talk about things that are non-record related, they don't really care. You know what I mean? Usually they don't care. Like I've tried making it more of a lifestyle show. I was kind of a goal at one point, but people are kind of like, shut up and show the tech. But yeah, I can't help it. I am who I am. I wear my personality on my sleeve a lot of the time. So it's, I can't help it. But I just made a conscious effort to make Record-ology a decidedly positive place, which is why the block list of people that have been blocked is probably an astronomical CSV file sitting on a server somewhere. And I've never unblocked somebody. Once you're blocked, you're blocked. Which is why we have so many nice people, because people that aren't so nice, I don't want to give a platform to negativity. You hear a lot of songs on those KTEL records that haven't been played on the radio since the song's release. Oh, that's an interesting perspective. Sony products from the past last forever. Larry, isn't it the truth? Man, when I was growing up, Sony was the mark of quality. And now the Sony turntables are just, it's nothing special anymore. It's kind of sad. Tim Allen says, I love Laserdisc, but I really hope that their rival format video disc never makes a comeback. It was horrible. Is that the one where you would stick the cartridge up to the unit and it would suck the disc in? Video disc? Or was that a physical disc that you handled as well? There was a bunch of weird, things that blow my mind. Like I can't comprehend video on vinyl. Like you can have video on vinyl. That's at a really high RPM. It's crazy. Gotta love ham, radio lingo, 73s. Goodbye. That's cool. My wife's family owned some property and it was out of cell range, and everybody up there had a two-way radio, and it was all, everybody had a handle. It's cool. And hers is now her nickname. I think that's cool. Jody Smith says, I've been wondering for a long time now why there isn't a record changer. Yeah, the last one was the Crosley Stack-O-Matic or whatever, which I've never played with. It's an interesting thing. Yeah. It's gone. It's gone. And for the most part, automatics are, well, not really, because you got the LP60 and the LP3. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. This is why I never speak in my videos. Why? Someone just contacted me to fix a turntable for a restaurant. Rock and roll ribs. That's cool. That's neat. Record-ology. I have the CD of Pink Floyd, The Wall, and AC/DC on CD. That's cool. Larry says, I had nothing but record changers while growing up. BSRs, I'm sure, right? At least maybe a BSR or a dual. I got one of those CED. Okay, was CED the one where the disc came out? It's crazy. Troy, welcome in. Kate Teller, good find. Radio station edits. That's awesome. Video disc. Huh. Okay, so they were okay. Got it. Cool. All right, you guys. Well, we've got an hour and 5 minutes. If you got any final comments or questions, put them down there. I'm putting down where it is on my screen. It's probably in a different corner for you. Maybe it's over here. But if you have any last minute questions or comments, just want to say thank you. The show for tomorrow, I've been really trying this week to film a day in advance for everything. So I filmed tomorrow's show. There is something in frame right now that is a hint about what it is. And my goal is to get that edited and posted tonight. It's nearly 9. It's been just a crazy day. The day's been lost because of that work situation. But anyway, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. So thank you for being here. Thank you for jumping in. Greg, yeah, thumbs up. Thank you for the thumbs up, Greg. I appreciate it. John says, just want to say hi. Love your show, my man. Hey, I appreciate you being there. Thank you so very much. RCA lost millions. I want to research that more, Larry. That's interesting. Any planned reviews, Bradley says. There are things in the pipeline that need more work before they materialize. I've always got a handful of things planned. Sometimes I don't know what I'm doing until the day I film it. But the one we're doing today was in the works for a few weeks. I'm very excited to share it with you. It should be posted 6 a.m. Mountain Time. I want to give people a chance to see it. I have been producing on Sunday and then posting, but it took so long to edit and upload, because my internet speed is not astronaut. I got great, I got a fiber connection, but it's throttled to like 150 down, but my up is like 5. So, uploading a high definition, 30-minute show on 5 megs up, and our son's on the PS4 in the other room with the audio going bidirectionally. It's just crazy. So what's been happening is the weekend show would go up at 11:59 p.m. on a Sunday night. Well, guess what? Everybody's in bed ready for work the next day, and you don't have time to watch YouTube on Monday. So I think I've been shooting myself in the foot on that. So I've forced myself to produce a day earlier and post early in the morning the day of. So tomorrow's show, this weekend show, should go up 6 a.m. Mountain Time. Yeah, Tim, so glad. And it was fun to jump into yours as well. That was fun. Yeah, I love popping around and seeing who comes up on the feed. It's really cool. And then you meet people that you don't even realize were like, oh, I didn't realize that they were, in this as well. So that's really, really cool. Getting my Edison Triumph. Oh man, that's cool. That's going to be an adventure. That's really cool. Really, really cool. No questions, just tuned in late. Well, thank you for joining, Tim. I really appreciate it. I'll probably post the replay so you can watch it back. Elvira, going to a book sale. Those are always fun. Great to catch you live, says Tim. Great to catch you live too the other day. That was fun. Data Bits, yeah, it's a great channel. Larry's showing off some stickers. Got to get some CDs and DVDs, antique books, or maybe records. There's so much fun stuff out there, isn't there? Sounds like you need a schedule. Or I know. I do. Have a good night, says John. John, you as well. Would like to get a portable record player with a magnetic cartridge. Bradley, the Revolution Go from Audio Technica is amazing. It's got a moving magnetic Audio Technica cartridge. The sound quality on the speaker system in the front is what makes it, though. It sounds better than it has any right to sound. It's amazing. Truly portable. Only thing I don't like about it is it's not very rugged. It's kind of like one drop and it's shattering. It doesn't feel like it's made durable, but if you're gentle with it, it's really good. Okay, let me see here. I want to finish these out, guys. I want to finish these out real quick. 110. Let's see here. My upload is barely a meg. I know, right? And that's where they get you. People don't realize that you need a good upload speed. Jerry says, collect DVDs, found some brand new sealed discs at Goodwill for $1. That's great. Greg, thanks again for the thumbs up. Angela, welcome in. We're just about to finish up. I'm sorry, but check the replay. I appreciate you joining. I helped Databits find an issue with his Revere. Oh, that's cool. Larry, should I use the Victrola later? I would check it out. I would really check that one out. It's cool. We've reviewed it. So if you look into the videos, you'll see it. The light blue, the Revolution Go. Yeah, that's cool. I just got a boring black one. Make a video on my credenza. Might make a video on my credenza video Victrola. Or I'm tired. I got to go to bed. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being there. I love you guys. You're awesome. I appreciate you. Thumbs up if you haven't done so already. And if you're just joining us, I'm sorry. We've done about an hour and 10 minutes, so go back and check that out. And a brand new show coming to you first thing in the morning. Last question answered. Do I watch 8-Bit Guy? Yes, from time to time. And that is a good show. So, all right, guys, take care. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.